Ask not what we all be can do for you. Ask what you can do for we all be.
This is We All Be News and Radio.
Ron Hurd. Get up out of bed. Let's go. Let's go. Ron Hurd. That's the word. Get out of bed. Give me a jingle. My number 051. Get out of bed. Let's go. Don't be afraid. This is Herb Smith calling you. Herb Smith. All right, I know you're famous and all that kind of stuff, but let's go. Get out of bed.
Welcome, Black family, to another wonderful edutainment edition of the Artivist Presents We All Be News and Radio. I'm your host for the empowerment segment. Excuse me, Brother Ron, also known as R2, C2H2, the Artivist. We got a great one for you all today, so please feel free to join in this wonderful food for thought conversation. The call-in number for today's show, of course, is area code 646-652-4593. That's area code 646-652-4593. If you're scared to get on the air, we're about to open up the chat room. Feel free to type in your comments, your questions, and guess what? They may be read on the air to our wonderful, esteemed, and accomplished guests. Once again, call-in number 646-652-4593. About to open up the chat room. We're about to be live. And today's topic is a very timely, as well, I believe, timeless one. It's unfinished business. The 1964 Freedom Summer veterans talking about Ferguson. 50 years ago this summer was Freedom Summer 1964, a very watershed moment for American history, for American civil rights movement history. A lot of things happened that summer that led to the eventual passing of the 65 Voting Rights Act. And also a lot of things are happening this summer, 50 years later, in Ferguson, Missouri, and all over the place. We'll get into that as well. But without further ado, we're going to introduce our esteemed panel family. Coming in from the good state of Georgia, our brother Mukasa Dada. Are you there, brother Mukasa?
Yes, I am, brother.
It's an honor to have you on. This is brother Mukasa Dada, a really legendary freedom fighter, the man who actually coined the phrase Black Power, a true activist, a true revolutionary. How you doing today?
Fine, thank you, Brother African. Also, I don't mind you telling my name was Willie Ricks, and I was in an organization called SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I'm glad to have you. It's an honor to have you on, sir. And also, we have out the good land of Oregon, I believe the one and only Sister Karen Hadelman Trustee. Are you there, Sister Karen?
Hi.
Hi, it's an honor to have you on.
This is Karen?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. I'm pleased to be here.
It's an honor to have you on. You're a true trailblazer yourself. Also in SNCC. Did a lot of great things. Was stationed out in Greenwood, Mississippi, doing Freedom Summer 64. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes,
and
I also did some work in Atlanta.
Most definitely. And it's an honor to have you on the show. And also, none other Dr. Gwendolyn Zohara Simmons. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Welcome to the show, family. You are from Memphis. You're a fellow Memphian, the city of good abode. It's an honor to have you on. Very proud to know you, and it's an honor to have you here today. How you doing today?
Doing good.
Excellent.
Great.
And also, you were stationed doing Freedom Summer in Laurel, Mississippi, correct? Is that correct?
Yes, I'm sort of not clear who you're talking to. I was in Laurel, Mississippi. I was Gwen Robinson during those days, project director in Laurel, Mississippi, for the summer of '64 and about a year and a half beyond that time.
It's an honor to have you on. I know now you're a professor of religious studies at University of Florida, Gainesville, correct?
And African American studies. I'm in both units. Yes, thank you.
It's an honor to have you all on. Y'all very esteemed and accomplished people who were young people back in '64 I'm just interested because I was just curious to get you all's take on what's going on right now in the country, in particular Ferguson, Missouri. And, I spent a couple of days there. It was very fascinating talking to the people on ground. But I'd love to get y'all's perspective on what y'all have seen and heard so far about what's going on in Ferguson.
Well, I'd be curious to know what you saw because you were there. I've just read about it. And maybe you could say a couple things about what you saw with the young people doing. It seems like, in a way, they're the new SNCC, but I don't really know because I'm not there. So I don't know how other people on the panel feel.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Sister Karen. I was there for a couple of days. I went to the funeral. I also spent time in Ferguson talking to the people on the ground. I would say that they do remind me of a new version of SNCC. Now, I wasn't there when y'all was there doing y'all thing, but there's a strong grassroots organizing vibe among the young people there on the ground. A lot of local people are involved. And I think it's interesting because, like, what you see on the TV or what you have saw over the last couple of weeks was not necessarily very accurate in terms of how local businesses were responding to the people protesting, because you had some local businesses actually donating space and whatnot for the protesters. You also had local businesses and even name brand or well-known corporate entities like Schnucks and also Little Caesars donating resources to the protesters and whatnot, supporting what they were doing. And I think what's interesting, too, is that they say the revolution won't be televised, but we do have the real fourth estate in the Internet with the social media, because the people are still protesting in Ferguson right now as we speak. This past Labor Day, they shut down Interstate 70 for about several minutes, more than 4 minutes. I would say about 10 minutes. So you got young people that are really involved, and I was very encouraged to see how the movement could not be controlled by the quote-unquote establishment. You know, Malcolm X said a thing one time. He said that the Negro Revolution is controlled by white, foxy liberals and the government, but the black revolution is controlled by God. And I think the people have spoken, and the people are taking charge, and it's like it's unfinished business. Like, we tried the voting thing. We tried it for 50 years. We see where it got us right now. Now it's time to try something new, and the young people are very excited. That's what I got from that.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
And Simmons, let me just say that I was certainly very upset by the killing of Michael Brown and outraged, as I think so many African Americans and other people of goodwill were across the country. And, of course, on the top of him being executed, his body being permitted to lie in the street as if he were roadkill for over 4 hours and not permitting, anybody to do anything. And then I understand not even carrying him away in an ambulance. So, I mean, it was so outrageous and egregious. I mean, and I know they've been killing black people, men and women, and it's outrageous. And so what it says to me is that this whole notion of anything about a post-racial society is totally bunk, and the fact that we have unfinished business. And I hope that those of us in the conversation will give our perspectives on the unfinished business. I'll just launch into it by saying, as a person who worked in Mississippi, worked with the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, organizing that, and also went to Atlanta and worked with SNCC after being in Mississippi, and ran into the same kinds of issues in Atlanta that we're confronted with now, which was quite different from what we were confronted with in the rural South. But I think that we focused on voting, and I am totally in support of us using the vote, but we forgot about independent political and social and economic organizing and the need for organizations that we control, and I think they should be heavily black controlled. Now, I realize this is a different day from what it was in the 60s, and so they don't have to be all black formations, but clearly blacks have to be in the leadership. Because even though you have elected officials, not in Ferguson, by the way, that's a whole other issue. The fact that Ferguson could be almost 70% black and have almost no black elected officials, and I've been reading quite a bit about the voting patterns and all of that, and so in fact black people were not voting in the local elections. And so, you know, you had a white administration which cared nothing about them, was not answerable to them, ruling over them. So here's a case where voting possibly could have changed some of this, but it certainly is not a panacea. We need black control, or at least certainly in major control of the organizations that influence our lives.
Yeah, that's okay. That's great points. Anybody else want to add to that? The opening?
Well, I'll speak.
Well,
hello.
Go ahead, Will.
Hello.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Karen. Speak. No problem.
No, it's you're up. I'll go next. Go ahead.
Well, I'm Mukasa, Willie Ricks, and I was also in SNCC with these two beautiful young ladies. And that my opinion is that this country brought us here as slaves, and it continued to treat us as slaves, and that we are being murdered systematically like they have done since we've been here. We've been robbed of education. We don't have decent jobs, and we don't have decent housing, living. The mass of our people are suffering, and that we are being oppressed. The prison industrial complex is putting as many of our young people in jails and prisons as possible. And the motherland, Africa is being bombed as we talk right now, and the American government and the other imperialist companies are raping Africa for its natural resources, and these resources are supposed to be used for the benefit of African people, and not what we would have to depend on the American government to give us food, bread, water, or whatever, which they're not going to do. We have to begin to think about doing for ourselves. So I'm saying that this country have a police force that's been given a carte blanche to come into our neighborhood and to rob us, either through giving us tickets and having us in court, putting us in the jail system, or they can shoot us at will, and they know won't nothing be done about it, and it's being done. And you have other kind of racist groups that's doing the same thing. So I'm saying that we need to be organized, and we need to continue to fight like we did in the 60s, but we need to take it to a higher level, because this government is oppressing us, and we would not find freedom or justice in the Democrats or the Republicans or America. And we have to realize that and understand it. And I'm saying that the only way that we are going to, as a people, not just people in the United States, but in the Caribbean, South and Central America, and Africa, is for us to liberate Africa and to cut the hands of imperialism off and to chop the hands of capitalism. If we don't do that, we're just putting a bandage on the problem. Capitalism is the problem, and they promote racism and every damn thing else. And it's going to take revolution, just like other people fighting in the world for their land. We have to fight for our land, Africa, and definitely we have to demand and teach our people their own African history, African culture, and teach from a socialist perspective. So I believe in revolution, and I think that I went through many Fergusons in the 60s in Detroit, and probably there are 50 other cities that they came out and they said shoot to kill, where they left many, 50, 60 black people laying on the street shot and dead. And when they killed Martin Luther King, they left us on the street shot and dead. So Ferguson ain't nothing new. But so we're in a revolution, and that this going to continue to rise up, because our people ain't going to be satisfied. And we know that the only way you're going to get attention when they shoot somebody and those things is that you go out and you burn a building down. You go out and you throw a brick, go out and shoot up the place, and then they're running there and try to act like they want to do something about it. But if them people, if the brothers and sisters in Ferguson hadn't went out and fought back and did what they did, it would have been just another killing, just like they just killed that little boy down in Louisiana with his hand tied behind him in the car in a handcuff, shot him in the chest, and they don't intend to do nothing about it. We all know tens of hundreds of our children that's being killed all around this country every day, and ain't nothing being done about it. So the United States government is the guilty one. So I'll stop there.
Okay, Sister Karen?
Well, that's a hard one to follow. I agree with everything that's been said. The one thing that I think is positive in a way about this, because in studying history and studying Black history, Black men in particular, but Black people have been killed forever, and nobody has noticed, and nobody has done very much. I mean, there's been some, but it feels like this might be the turning tide. Might be, I hope, the beginning of the turning of that. Every time somebody is, particularly a Black person, is shot in the streets, that there is a protest, that there is people notice, that is acknowledged. I remember in '64 in Mississippi, when those 3 guys disappeared and they were looking for them, they found Black bodies in the rivers, and nobody even knew who they were. In the early 1900s, where slavery by another name was happening, Black men were taken off the streets and put into another kind of slavery and died in there, and nobody even noticed. So it's just, in that sense, it's good. I really hope that the organizing there continues, because, I do believe at this point, I didn't when I was 19. I have to say I was completely down on the Democrats after what they did to the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party back then, and I'm still totally down on the Democrats, but I do think there is some difference between the Republicans at this point and the Democrats today. But they're not going to ever do anything, I'll try not to swear, if there's not a really organized pressure, continual pressure on it. It has to be fighting back from all these things that are happening. And I agree, we're the heart of the monster. We are screwing up every country in the world for our own gain and for our own so-called comfort and privilege, which isn't even extended to all Americans, to put it mildly. But, it's just really important that organizing happens. And I feel so privileged to even be on this panel and to have been with SNCC in the short time that I was there, because it changed the way I looked at things, and it changed my life, really. And that's all I'll say for now.
I'm glad everybody's on this panel, because y'all have very wonderful perspectives to add to the flavor of this discussion. I'd like to ask you all, what were some of the things you tell the young protesters right now, the young activists? What would be some things you would share with them about the pros and the cons? And, what insight could you give them right now?
Well, I'll speak to that partly. And first I want to say that I was very influenced by both of these ladies, and both of them had great courage. And one of the things that Sister Gwen Robinson at that time did was she pointed that SNCC's problem wasn't just in Mississippi. I remember hearing her talk about Africa and talk about South Central America and talking about us all over the world, and that we need to look at ourselves from a Black perspective and link up with other movements in the world. That was one of the, I would think, contribution that Gwen, if I remember right, influenced me with. And then Sister Karen, she was definitely a very influential person, with a lot of courage, that they were willing to go and confront racism, like they confronted George Wallace one time right here in Atlanta, and they were beating down Wilson Brown and Chuck Neblett, and I forgot who else.
Matthew Jones.
Matt Jones, the great freedom singer, and they confronted the system and went right in the midst of it and was beat down before the cameras, before the government and governors and everything else. But they were great freedom fighters. So SNCC had a lot of people with a lot of courage that confronted an evil system, and many of them died, was beaten, was bombed, was shot, but SNCC was seeking the truth. So to answer your question, I think that one of the things that we could say we did, we got organized. SNCC was an organization. So one of the first thing or early things we need to do is talk about organization. And then also, one of the things that SNCC did was we went to the people. We didn't just sit back and talk about it in a classroom or talk about it with each other, but we took this philosophy, we took it to the people, and we would sit under trees and in basements and in fields or anywhere, and sometime in the basement of a church or in a house on the back porch, and we would sit down and talk to people, and we turn these things as freedom schools, where we were teaching people about the history and letting people express themselves up and give us the history of what was going on, what was life back, how they viewed the world, what was happening to them, who did what to them, who did what to their parents, and they were just telling about the fear and all kinds of things that was being put into them, and we were telling them about freedom and how we had a right to be free and how these things were wrong and what have you. But we end up teaching a history to our people and practicing a history to our people. And I think that we need to go back and begin to throw those freedom schools up again, because too many of our so-called freedom fighters or people that talk about liberation are just locked in a classroom and don't go to the people. And while our children are out here in the streets dying and suffering, and even grown people, we need to be out here talking to them and explaining to them who they are, where they come from, what was their greatness historically, who interfered with that greatness, what happened to us, who hurt us, who put us on slave ships, what was it like on the slave ship, who brought us here, where did they take us, what did they do to us, and how have they made us and got us in the condition that we in today. And I just think it's time for us to put together some more of them old SNCC freedom schools that Sister Gwen and all of them used to teach and show us. Gwen definitely influenced me a lot. She had a freedom school within SNCC. Thank you.
Well, to follow up on Brother Mukasa, first of all, thank you so much. And, you bring a long history, Mukasa, of struggle, just as we do. So it's a real honor and pleasure to be on this show with you today. For people who don't know, that's another long-distance freedom fighter. I do talk to young people. I get to talk to the Dream Defenders here in Florida, and I also get to talk to people in the classroom, and they have to listen. They can't get away, So that does give me a chance to share with them. And, of course, I liked what you said, Mukasa. First, I say you have to be organized. We live in a society that promotes individualism. And everybody, for him or herself, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, every person for themselves. This is a terrible teaching, and it's especially terrible for an oppressed people who have been systematically disenfranchised and stripped of so much. So that individualism is poison. So the idea that I try to get across to young people is that we have to be organized, that we need independent organizations that are not listening to and being directed by folks who do not have our best interests at heart. And as Mukasa was saying, and Karen, SNCC was an organization when we formed SNCC, and I was not a part of the original formation in 1960, but these were college-age young people, who formed an organization that went on to take on this system. And so we have to have those kinds of organizations now. I totally agree with the idea of freedom schools. I'm very glad that the Children's Defense Fund has brought the freedom school concept back to the forefront of our struggle. I think they ran about 250 freedom schools across the country this year. This is something that needs to happen in every city, every town. We have all these churches. We have plenty of, community centers and places like that should be operating freedom schools on the weekends and during the summer, all during the week, where our young people are taught their history and taught the need for struggle, that everything we have been able to achieve is as a result of struggle, and that nothing was given to us, and that what has happened is that what we fought and died for, they're trying to take away, including the right to vote even. So we know that many are trying to undermine that right. So organization, education, both of your history of who you are, so that you will not feel inferior, so that people cannot make you think that you did never bring anything to the table. We help to build this country. We have every right to everything in this country. We are not beggars at the table. And so our children have to be taught that. Parents have to become involved in the schools. The schools should really be run by the parents of the children who are in these schools. And I'm very involved here in Gainesville right now with an effort to demand that African American history be taught in our public schools. A lot of the damage to our children begins in the schools. We also need parent effectiveness training. We have young people who are very young, who often haven't had any training themselves, who are parenting. They need the support of us elders and others to help them learn how to be proper parents. We have many things that we have to do, and I'm terribly really annoyed that we have more churches probably than any community in this country. And what are they doing for the people in terms of social and economic betterment? I am really calling on the religious leaders to get involved at the grassroots, open their church doors for freedom schools. We need co-ops. We need all kinds of programs, and we started these programs. The thing that the Black Panther Party did that has totally been forgotten. You know, the breakfast programs, all the breakfast programs in the public schools come from what the Panthers started. The free clinic started with the Panthers. How many people, I know my students who are university students, they have no idea. They just think the Panthers were somebody running around with guns shooting out with the police. They don't know any of the history to what that was all about. So I'll stop on that.
Okay.
Yeah, and what I'd like to say is that I would really like the students that are active in Ferguson and other places to have some sense of the history of SNCC, because when I go into classrooms, college classrooms or high schools, the kids have never heard of SNCC. And you know, SNCC is so important as a model. It's not the only model, but it was young people who were really willing to put aside. People stopped going to college that you know, it was really important to their family. There was all this, people put all that aside to work with the people and to build this organization. And it was very much people-led. One of the things that I learned from SNCC was how important it is to work with the grassroots. The very people who are denied the most in this country are the very people that have an understanding and a language of what is really happening in this country. And they can, like Fannie Lou Hamer, you look at her history and how she stood up and how she could speak to the entire country in a language that people could understand, because there's not this intellectual bullshit understanding, book understanding. It's from her heart. It's from her experience. So one of the things that I really learned in SNCC, which I didn't really know, was this emphasis on the people who don't have are the people who lead, are the people who become the leaders. SNCC hired many, many people in Mississippi that were 16 years old and from the community. There's not a lot of other organizations that I know of that have done that. And if the young people that are trying to organize today had a better understanding of what really happened in the civil rights movement, not what they're taught, which is this sort of glossy version of Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, who, thank God they were there. I don't deny any of that. But there was this other emphasis that was way more radical and way more revolutionary and reached into the very heart. And that's how we became radical. We saw what was happening. We cared about what was happening with the people. And that's, and we started fighting for that. And the other thing I would say is get some music going, because you got to have music. I mean, these things are scary. I spent some time last night looking at the pictures of Ferguson and the cops, and holy crap! I mean, that's really scary. What you see there? I mean, it is the militia. It is. I mean, in Mississippi, the mayor of Jackson, Mississippi, he bought a tank because we were invading to start Freedom School. But, so there was a little bit of that, and God knows the Klan was very militarized, but it was intense, so they're going to need a lot of support and a real closeness and a real understanding of what's happening. And I really hope that one of the things they're using is the history of the struggle that Sahara talks about. There is a real history of struggle in this country, particularly in the black community, that is hidden from us. It is not just not taught. It is hidden. And that needs to be a way to help bridge the past into the future with more knowledge. Like one of the things I would do that would be different than what happened back there is I would have given more psychological support to all of us who were in the movement. And I would have tried to reach out, because it was really traumatic. And I don't know about other people who came out, but I was a basket case when I came out of Mississippi. I was happy that I'd done it. I wouldn't hesitate to do it again. But, all of that, the journey we've gone through, people need a certain kind of support to be able to do this on the long run. So that's what I would say.
And also, I would like to say, in terms of Ferguson is in every community where we live. Every one of them. We go through Ferguson every day, all day. And secondly, I would like to say that, we are at war. Ain't no doubt about that. A war of ideals and whatever. Also, I would like to say that SNCC was definitely the leading organization of the 60s. It was the leading organization. And the reason they don't want you to hear about it, or many of us don't know about it, because they don't want you to know the great work that SNCC did and the importance that SNCC played in the movement. They don't want people to know that. They don't want them to know the real truth. And thirdly, you mentioned Fannie Lou Hamer. There were many Fannie Lou Hamers. There were many, we call them local people, that we would go into the town and these people would step up and step out and begin to speak up for our people. But we had hundreds of local people, young and old, like Miss Divine. I could just name one, Gwen, which you work with. But there were so many, Miss Palmer, and Miss Christian, Miss Gaines, Mr. or whoever. And there were so many that proved to be warriors and very intellectual, very telling, very brave, and they made us what we were. And that, so Fannie Lou Hamer is just a symbol name of the hundreds or even thousands of people that we work with and helped fight, and they helped us fight and made us what we were and made SNCC what it is and what it was. And so I just want to praise the local people and say again that definitely we got to get organized, and we got to now take revolutionary education to the masses of our people. Our people got to be given the truth. And what is the truth? Who are we? Where do we come from? Who have done what to us? What is this country doing to us now? What is the prison industrial complex? What is the school prison pipeline? Why is our people? Why we the only people in this country that don't identify with a land, don't have their own language, or their own gods, or their own nothing? We still are under the white slave masters that brought us over here as slaves and killed us, murdered us for hundreds of years. It haven't nothing changed. So anyway, that's what I want to say. Thank you.
All right, sir. That's important what you said. Also, you speak of revolutionary education. And I understand your son went to medical school in Cuba. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Oh, yes. My son is in medical school in Cuba. And he's now studying for the board. And that the Cubans has offered 500 scholarships a year for young people to come from here and go to medical school in Cuba free. And you don't work in Cuba, don't owe Cuba, and you go there, you study, and they even give you a little stipend. And you study in Cuba free, and you come back here to take the medical board, and you're a doctor. So if anybody that can hear our voice in the college where you are, Gwen, or whatever, your neighbors, your friends, your church folks, if you go to church, whatever, whoever you are, if you want a scholarship to medical school, you could go to IFCO, IFCO news.org, IFCOnews.org, and on that website there are scholarships for medical school, and we're looking for as many as possible. And you got young people that go to medical school in Cuba from all over the world. Castro said his largest army is training medical doctors and sending them back to the countries that they come to Cuba for. He said his largest army is medical doctors, and he got 125,000 doctors that they rotate around the world every year, absolutely free, going looking to cure the sick and help the sick. And they tell the countries to bring your children to Cuba, and they would make doctors out of them and send them back. And my son is in that program. And let me point out one other thing, that all the other countries that send children to Cuba, the countries themselves are so happy that they send their children a stipend and help them. South Africa just sent 1,000 children to Cuba to go to medical school. And then they would send them a small stipend, whether it's $100 or $200 a month or whatever, to be in Cuba. They send it. All the governments does that, except one government, the United States. The kids down there, they're the poorest because their government don't support them. And matter of fact, the United States go and even tell the doctors down there, you don't need to be down here being a doctor. You should come to the United States and we'll give you some money. And they try to undermine the school, even though the Senate made a deal saying that the kids could go there and go to medical school, come back here and be doctors. But they don't get no help from this government. And one of the things that my son is trying to take the medical board now, and one of the things that we've been asking people to do, and Gwen, I hope you help us too, is that help my son pay for the medical board and pay his transportation back to Cuba. And now anyway, he's trying to do that right now, and they have tests and whatever, but it equals up to almost $5,000. And he put a thing on the internet called, if you got a pencil, people, called GoFundMe GoFundMe.com/BMRQXG. And it's GoFundMe.com/BMRQXG. And that we asking people to help him get money to pay for the medical board and get back to Cuba. So if any of y'all can help on that project, please do. But if any of you have children or know anybody at the university or anywhere that want to go to medical school, they can come to Cuba and go. And all you need is a biology 1, biology 2, chemistry 1, chemistry 2, and you can come to Cuba for medical school. The scholarship is there, and you go to the website, ifconews.org, ifconews.org. And now, going back to saying SNCC, another thing that we did in SNCC, like everybody had different roles, and you didn't have everybody running for the microphone.
Mm-hmm.
We were hundreds of people, and each one of us carried out different roles, and that we spoke as SNCC people, and so we would have different people speaking whatever, local people speaking whatever, and we encouraged that, but at the same time, all of us was doing different things. And today, look like too many people just run for the microphone and build their own little resume up instead of really, really trying to work grassroots with the people. Our loyalty was with the movement. Our loyalty in SNCC was with SNCC and not our personal egos and all that. And the people that you talked to on the phone, both of these young ladies were there, and they were very intelligent ladies, but they were very humble and, whatever. And we worked with people, and we had great people working with us like Wilson Brown and Don P. Stone, and as another brother, Bill Ware. And Bill Ware was one of the most intelligent, wisest young men you ever wanted to see. But we had so many. And Gwen was just a personality in her own self, and she was an outspoken young lady and very beautiful young lady coming off Spelman's campus, and she just came in with fire. I remember that very well. And I learned a lot from that young lady right there. She changed my attitude, made me more militant, matter of fact.
I heard that. And so I want to bring in somebody else to the conversation, another one of y'all, I guess, comrades. No stranger to the We All Be radio program. She's real family. Speaking of freedom songs, is the one and only Sister Margaret Block. Sister Margaret, you there?
Yeah, I was just listening. I hadn't planned to be a contributor, but hey, MacArthur, hey, Karen, hey, Gwen.
How you doing?
Hey,
Hello.
welcome. Wonderful.
Yeah, really.
How are you guys doing?
We doing all right. And this
Good.
and this Block lady, she was the little sister to Sam Block.
That's right.
And Sam Block was a warrior young man, and
Total warrior. That's right.
he was a great warrior, and he was with a whole bunch of other young men and women.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Block.
Yeah, I really wanted. Oh, yeah, Sam was great. I miss Sam. Sometimes I talk to Sam, y'all know.
Well, he talked to me all the time. I talked to him all the time. These brothers would never die. They will always be speaking to us.
I think of him a lot, so I'll start talking to him now.
Yeah, I talk to him. He gives me a lot of bright ideas. When I'm ready to quit, I'll talk to him. He go, "Since when have you quit?" And people, my children think that I've lost it. But yeah, I wanted to put a little bit in about Ferguson. Ferguson is Ferguson, USA. It's not just all inclusive to Ferguson. It's here in the Delta. It's all over the country. Nobody even mentioned the young man that got shot in L.A. Where they were busy focusing on Ferguson, but I think they wanted to distract from that murder in L.A. when the police shot him and he was disabled. He was challenged, and they just shot him down, and nobody mentioned that. And about 4 years ago in Tallahatchie County, this man, the county attorney, Mr. Whitting, he chased this black man all over Tallahatchie County with tanks and a Jeep with a machine gun mounted on it and everything. And nobody mentioned that kind of stuff. But we have got to start pointing out to our young people, not just young men, but all young people, that your life is in danger, and you are on the endangered species list, because it's a plan for them, for these white people to take back what they say, their country.
Mm-hmm.
And it's deja vu. I listening Ferguson, MacArthur. You remember when they used to call us outside agitators?
Oh, yes, sir. And that's the same thing them Uncle Toms and those racists talked about in
They're
Ferguson.
using the same crap on them. Yep.
Yeah, I'm writing a new poem called Deja Vu.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's deja vu all over again. And to talk about the freedom schools, although I didn't teach in the freedom schools, they were very important. I remember when the freedom schools, they set up one in Ruleville, and it was an eye-opening because people never knew anything about their history, about our history, and children were excited about that. I taught in the citizenship schools when I was first working with SCLC. And that was important because it was important to teach people how to register to vote and how to be good citizens, as they say. And how I even had to teach an old man that was about 70 years old, maybe, how to read and write, how to sign his name. And that was very fulfilling. And
yeah, we all did
people out now. Yeah, but we had to get people now, these young people, to get on board. Don't just dismiss your elders as somebody that's old and don't know what's going on. You got to take time with them. We need to get them to listen to the elders. I remember, about this crazy man that's the election attorney for the election commissioner here in Bolivar County. I just spoke to him and tried to say something. Before I could get anything out of my mouth, he told me he wished us old civil rights workers would sit down and shut up.
Mm.
And we got people like that running things today. Mm-hmm. That's what our mistake is. Not like MacArthur said, we went to the community. We never had the leader. We worked from the ground up. And nowadays, these black elected officials thinking they can work from the top down. Mm-hmm. They're not paying attention to anything. And it's very disconcerting the way we're not paying attention to Common Core or No Child Left Behind, how they miseducating our kids, our young brothers. If they don't know how to read by the time they're in the third grade, that's how they build prison cells, and nobody is talking about that. What happened to a little white boy if he can't read in the third grade? They're not building no prison cells around those statistics. Mm-hmm. So I just want to know what are they going to do. I'm still fighting. I got to go to court with the Justice Department and School District again, which is totally ridiculous.
I just think this is when we have to talk about the plans that we, along with community activists, young, old, and in between, are going to devise to address these problems, because nobody is going to do it for us, just as no one was going to free us from segregation and Jim Crow. We had to do it for ourselves. And likewise, we have to do it now. I think it's important, and if I had a way, I would convene a lot of the civil rights vets for us to look at what happened, what went right, what went wrong, and what happened that the movement ended. Now, we know that there was the COINTELPRO of the federal government that sent in agents provocateurs to destroy our movements from within, pitting people against each other, planting drugs, planting guns, and the like. But other things in terms of our own moving away from what we had learned to do I think that when people were able to move out of our communities and into areas they had not been able to live in, those who were educated, those who could get the good jobs, left the communities behind, left them bereft of leadership or even people who could serve as role models for the young people. It seems to me that we focused extensively on electoral politics, and I really would love to hear from you, Margaret, because you're there in Mississippi where we poured in so much of our effort to develop the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party and to get African Americans in Mississippi the right to vote in a state that has a very large black population. Yet I've been there 4 times in the last 2 years, and I'm hearing that things are still bad. So I would love for you to share with us and the audience, what do you think went wrong?
Oh, a lot went wrong, but the main thing that went wrong was we didn't teach the people about what we were doing. People that's now in elected positions, they don't know anything about how they got there. So I think we got to teach them about organizing and not putting yourself on a pedestal. Then we have to take these young kids, these young people, and educate them. We need to, like you said, have freedom schools. And we need to be, like in Mississippi, it was decreed about 6-7 years ago that they have to teach the civil rights movement as part of the core curriculum in the schools, public schools. They haven't done anything like that. They totally ignored that. And we have black superintendents. We have black people on the state school board, and it's been totally ignored. And another thing that's important is we have to get, like we organized for the right to vote. Well, we didn't organize well enough, and we didn't fight hard enough to defeat that voter ID law that they have now. That voter ID law is just the same thing. It's Mr. Jim Crow now, Mr. James Crow. It's not Jim Crow, it's Mr. James Crow. And we need to get people involved in the election process and get people to run for office that don't have their own personal agenda in mind, how great they're going to be. I know most of these elected officials around here think they just, I don't know, putting themselves up on a pedestal. In Bolivar County, we just elected a sheriff, a black sheriff since Reconstruction, the first black sheriff since Reconstruction, and the population of blacks, we like 68% black in Bolivar County. And all of this time, we never had a black sheriff. And we got this really great young man to run. And he won because we showed him, well, I did, I taught him. He would come over here at night, and I would be telling him about, you do this now. You go out in the country. You don't ignore nobody. You know, just simple stuff that you should do. And we got to identify people like we identified Kevin Williams, our sheriff, and get them to run for office. That's what we got to do, but I'm having trouble getting anybody to do anything around here.
Well, also, Margaret,
they think everything is cool.
Yeah. Also, I want to say that when we ran people for office in Mississippi, or even in the movement here, we ran them from the organization standpoint, and they went in for the movement and for the people. And now you got people running in the office, they're running as individuals, and they're going inside the Democratic Party, which we were fighting against and was fighting against us. And we in the Democratic Party, we have absolutely no authority, no power in that party. And the Democratic Party is in bed with the Republican Party. They in bed with America. So I don't have no faith in elections. I don't have no faith in voting. And I realized that everything that we got in the 60s, we went out and took it. We attacked segregation. We attacked this country to such a point that we forced them and scared them and pushed them into passing them laws to break segregation, to desegregate. We made them, and we took the right to vote, and we let them know this country would not function, and we're going to tear it up until we have the right to vote. And we took that, but then once they got it, they took control of it, and now they have made it where we get absolutely nothing from these elected officials, absolutely zero. And the places where we got the most black elected officials are the poorest. The people in the Delta, Mississippi, are literally living in a third world country, suffering, hungry, starving, prison industrial complex, drugging, and they in way worse shape than they were when we were down there 50 years ago, and the schools are bad and whatever. Black people are catching hell, and we back in slavery in America, and the only way out of it is organized movement, revolution, and begin to question this economic system that we live under, that Gwen used to teach us about so much, capitalism, where the rich get richer and the poor get poor, and ain't nothing changing. And matter of fact, we should say black get back and white get right. And they done forced us all the way to the back, and we ain't got a damn thing. They done broke up the family. They round up our children, put them in prison. We facing as much racism as we ever faced in our life, and they done destroyed all our black business we had throughout this country and throughout Mississippi. At least we had little black hotels and black cafes and black hospital here and a black hospital there. We had little black radio stations. They done destroyed all our business. When we were down in Mississippi, people had millions of acres of land. They could be independent and grow food. They done took all the land back. Yeah. So our condition, and then at the same time, they raping our motherland Africa for diamonds and gold that's supposed to be going to us. So we're facing a system that's rotten to the core, and we need to begin to organize and fight like we did early on. But freedom comes from those who fight and take it, not those who beg their slave masters for it.
Yep, you're right. My idea was to, but then I didn't get in trouble at Delta State because, I didn't really give a damn. But I was over there talking, and I mentioned how successful boycotts were. In the 60s and 50s, like Clarksdale, that's why Clarksdale looked like a ghost town downtown. Because Reverend Dr. Henry got together, a lot of people, Mrs. Piggies and Mrs. Burnside, the Burnsides, a lot of people got together, and they waited till time for people to shop for Christmas, and they boycotted Clarksdale. And I keep telling people boycotts work. We spend our money. You see, when you go shopping, the most people you see are African Americans in the stores spending their money. And if each town just bring on a boycott, that would speak volumes, because money talk around in this country. We show them that we're not spending our money and where our rights are being sabotaged, and we don't want to spend our money with you. Cleveland has the Grammy Museum. They're building this big Grammy Museum in Cleveland. And I don't think, like I said, I don't give a damn if they like me or not. But we spending all of this money building this Grammy Museum, and not a black business is going to profit from it. We have 2 black restaurants, and I think we have 2 black grocery stores now. But those people are not going to profit from that. And then they exploiting the blues. Now they got blues trails everywhere, all over Mississippi, and we don't exploiting it. We don't own it. I told them they gave us. No, we don't own nothing. Then now they starting on the civil rights trails. They got all these tours coming down here, going on the civil rights trail tours and stuff, and we're still not making 1 penny off of it. So I'm saying that these people need to wake up. I don't know what more that I can do to get them to wake up and start boycotting stuff. Like I told the mayor to keep on messing with me, I'll stop everybody at the stop sign in Rural and tell them don't come over here to Cleveland. All the tourists that be coming to Miss Hamer's grave. Huh?
You a fighter, Marvin. You've been a fighter all the time. And that's where SNCC was made up of a bunch of fighters and people that was ready to challenge the system, not just sit back and talk about it, but we went out and we challenged it. And we said we weren't going to bow out. If they wasn't behind us or give us some kind of job or we couldn't go in the front door, we would boycott it. And that's what we need to do. We need to do more boycott, more demonstrations, more protests, but we need to begin to make our voice heard worldwide. And another thing we did, when they had all these wars and have us living like we living right now and living back then, we said, hell no, we won't go. We ain't going in your army and fight your imperialist war. When they killed Sammy Young Jr. because he went into a bathroom that said white only in Tuskegee, Alabama, we said, we ain't got no business fighting your wars. The Vietnamese haven't did anything to us. Saddam Hussein and the Iraqi people haven't did anything to us. Why would we go and kill and murder them? Why would we help them murder or even support murdering Muammar Gaddafi and all them hundreds of thousands of people that they dropped bombs on in Libya? Obama and his entourage dropped bombs on in Libya and the bomb in Afghanistan, and now we just see where they murdered a nice-looking young brother in Somalia the other day. They're dropping bombs on black people in Somalia. They're putting armies all over Africa, getting ready to bomb and kill the African leaders and do them like they did Martin Luther King for wanting to be free. And they're putting drone stations all over Africa and a thing called African, and they're putting this all over Africa, preparing for war in Africa. And soon they're going to be telling us our children have to either go over there and help the white man kill Africans or help America, imperialism, kill Africans. And if you fight on the side of the freedom fighter, they'll call you a terrorist, like they're trying to do to people from Somalia or Iraq or whatever. But if you don't fight on the side of the white man, then they want to call you a terrorist. And then they come on television talking about the man that got his head cut off and that two white men got their heads cut off in Iraq for participating in the killing or murdering of hundreds of thousands of people. They dropping bombs in Iraq, killing thousands and thousands of people every day, and then they try to trick us and act like they're concerned about two white men that get killed. They can kill 1 million other people, and they won't worry about nothing but one white man getting killed. And that they're committing crimes on the people in Iraq. The United States is committing crimes on the people in Afghanistan. The United States is committing murder on the people in Syria. We see them committing genocide on the Palestinians in Palestine and in Lebanon. We see that the United States is committing genocide on our black people in Africa. In the last 5 years, 5 million people have died in the Congo. And right now, our children and people are dying in the Delta, Mississippi, from the same conditions that they died in the Congo from, and they're being killed and murdered, just like the United States is killing and murdering people in Vietnam or how you say Afghanistan or Iraq and Syria. Our children are dying right here in the United States and under the same hands that's murdering in Africa and the same hands that's murdering in Syria and Iraq. So we should not fight these imperialist wars. It's time for us to refuse to go in the army and tie the army into the killing of our children in Ferguson and everywhere else. We got to say, hell no, we won't go again. But most important, we got to get organized.
And you know what's interesting?
To take a lesson out of Amzie Moore's book, his page, a lesson from Amzie Moore, who was a great freedom fighter here in the Delta. He was the one, he was in the army, and when he got to Burma, he realized they were propagandizing, telling the black soldiers things was going to be different when they got home, and things weren't any different, and that's when he started organizing. And we've got to get people with experience, like in the army, to come out and organize. Because look at what happened to that, what was his name, Clyde Bundy in Arizona, was laying up there with all of those machine guns and AK, whatever they are. I don't know anything about guns, although I do. But anyway, did you notice that the army, they didn't do anything to them. They laid there with those weapons trained on them, and they didn't do a thing to them because they were white. If it had been black people, there would have been another move. They
would have been dead.
They did in Philadelphia, they'd have been dead.
Yeah.
And we got to start, I don't know how we're going to reach the masses, but that's what we got to do. Start pointing these things out. Maybe people will get mad if you explain and show them this kind of blatant discrimination and favoritism that America is playing.
We got to go back to that grassroots organizing that you and Gwen and all you are so used to doing. Grassroots, where we go and talk to the grassroots people. And remember, we always had Uncle Tom and all these people that's been got elected for office, running for office, and even President Obama ain't nothing but Uncle Tom's and working for the white racist, capitalist, imperialist system, and don't give a damn about the poor, hungry, starving people of the world. Obama might be black, but he's just as big a criminal as George Bush and Nixon and all the rest of them. And matter of fact, Obama going down in history as being the worst black man that ever born. He killed an American citizen.
Obama is not black. Excuse you. Obama is a map. A miscegenated American person. Because he didn't have no black experience. What do he know about being black?
Right.
Because
and
he married Michelle, that don't make you no black man.
Not at all.
Miscegenated. That's why I call him a map.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
What we learned from the election of President Obama and the fact that we have a black person who is the chief, what do they call it, police officer in the Defense Department, shows you that having people with black faces in positions of power in a society, in a government like this, does not change things for people on the ground. The only thing that changes is when people have power. And people, if you don't have money, you have to be organized. Because the 1% of the Occupy movement started us to really identifying who runs the country, the 1%, and that the rest of us had better organize so that there is even a remote possibility of there being some kind of fairness and justice in the society. It won't happen if the people don't organize themselves. And so this is one of the things that I think we all are totally agreed on. The question is, how do we get this going? And I know we have people organizing everywhere. I know here in a small little town like Gainesville, there must be at least 5 or 6 major groups working on everything from trying to get the amendment to the Constitution so that Citizens United doesn't, operate. We have a growing Moral Mondays operation here, and, we've got the Dream Defenders. So people are organizing, but somehow we are not coming together nationally, it seems, and having the kind of impact that is desperately needed to bring about fundamental change.
Yeah.
I think we certainly need revolutionary change. I want it to be done through the ballot box, but the ballot box doesn't mean anything if the people who control the ballot box are the 1%. If the people that we are electing do not represent us, and if we can't tell them what to do, what to vote for, because we sent you there and you represent us, nobody else, then, it doesn't work because they are bought out by big money. The Supreme Court has said that, money is speech with their latest ruling, and the fact that people can give any amount of money they want. So they basically open the door even wider for the complete dying out of our so-called democracy. So the only way we change that is through people power. We have to organize regionally, nationally, as well as locally. And that's what I'm hoping. Things like what happened in Ferguson that have galvanized the attention of so many of us, that we are going to come together and organize national entities that represent the people.
That's what I've been telling my daughter. She's an activist in California, in Sacramento, and I suggested that her, because she belonged to Cop Watch, and I suggested that we get a national chapter of National Cop Watch organization, and I mean, just everybody needs to have cameras or whatever they use, and watch cops. And if you see them doing something wrong, take their picture. Cop Watch, they don't want nobody taking their pictures, but they can't kill us all.
Right.
And also I would say this, that we are a nation of Davids. Never underestimate the power of the people, because one thing that the 1% understand, that a lot of us are slowly understanding, is that all the billionaires, they control the media. Every single last one of them got interest in media control. And Malcolm X said in one of his speeches at the Militant Labor Forum, is that the first thing the enemy would do is take over the radio airwaves to tell you that the war is over. We won. Y'all defeated. Never let your enemy tell you how strong you are or how many people you got. Because the thing about it is, it never happened in Chicago's and New York. It always happened in the Fergusons, the Montgomerys, the Money Mississippis, the Deltas. It always happened locally. No matter how global we get, everything is still localized. But people are doing things on the ground. The reason why Ferguson was successful in a lot of ways and is successful is because of the people utilizing the real fourth estate, which is the internet, the social media, the technology, to let folks know, hey, we did shut down Interstate 70. I know CNN didn't show it on TV. I know NBC didn't show it, but we did. Look at the video that we uploaded. We are shutting things down. We are getting things done. Power concedes nothing without demand. Even when I was on the ground, like what Brother Mukasa said earlier in the conversation, he met many Fannie Lou Hamers. I met a Fannie Lou Hamer on the ground. This sister had the foresight to be protesting in front of the police headquarters for days. Everybody else was on West Florissant. All the news media around the world, they was on West Florissant. But this sister was hold it down in front of the police headquarters. She recognized who the enemy was. She went to the power of the enemy and said, I demanded that y'all respect us. We're not going away. And when this move, we're going to go down to Clayton. We're going to be talking to the prosecutor. But she understood days earlier than most that the power was right there across the street staring back at her. And she was singing rally songs and stuff like that. We do need our freedom songs in this period. Where are our freedom singers at? Or where are our revolutionaries at? They're out there. I remember when Jesse Jackson came to Ferguson. I talked to Jesse for a few minutes at the hotel at the airport, but they ran Jesse out of town. They said, we don't want Jesse down here. And I think, in hindsight, I don't know if that was good or bad, but they said, we don't need these folks coming in telling us how to do what we got to do. We've been catching hell all this time, and like Fannie Lou Hamer said, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. But the thing about it is, people are still sleeping because they talk about Syria and Iraq using chemical weapons against their own people. Did the police force down in Ferguson, did they not use tear gas? Was it not outlawed in 1993? And is this supposed to be America? I mean, several years ago, they were calling black folks who lived in New Orleans all their lives refugees. So when we going to wake up, it's Missouri. We're a bunch of Dred Scotts, okay? It's misery. It's not Missouri, it's misery. And we all Dred Scott. We still don't have our rights. And I want to ask y'all this. Can we get justice as black people in this country under this system? Can we?
No. And my answer is no, hell no. And second, I want to say that we didn't have no victory in Ferguson. One of the things they did, they went out and did mass arrests and put many young African young men and women in jail. They did a roundup until they got rid of the strong voices.
Yes, sir.
And that they had the police invade the crowd and pointed out as many people as they can. They stopped cars. They even raided a church, talking about they had some outside agitators. They was outside agitators. So we didn't have no victory. We were militarily suppressed in Ferguson. And remember that was not a victory. But hopefully some conscience will come out where we will realize that it ain't just Ferguson, it's this whole United States government. And they use a bunch of Uncle Toms to go in, and that's why we need to look at what we call neo-colonialists. These are armies, these are government officials, these are elected officials that work in the interest of the white racist power, work in the interest of the capitalistic exploiting system, and they make sure the system is carried out and doing what it has to do to oppress the masses of the people. That includes killing, jailing, murdering, and doing all kinds of other stuff. So neo-colonialism exists, and now because you see a black face, that don't mean nothing. And finally, I want to say that when they killed Mary Evans, Margaret, you were there, and you were there, Gwen, all y'all was there. And when they killed Mary Evans, we had a rebellion at the funeral. Well, we confronted all them white police down there, and the United States government, FBI top cop, jumped out there in front with and said, if y'all don't ride, we'll put a black police on the force. And they put a black police on the force about 3-4 days later. His name was Red. Y'all remember Red?
Yeah.
Red was the low-downest black police that you ever see. The first thing he did was attack the civil rights people. They would put us in jail and handcuff us, and then tell us, so y'all demonstrated for a nigger police, come here, Red. And they get Red to Billy Stick. Red would beat you until they pull him off you. He went through the neighborhood shooting and killing black people. He put everybody in jail, including his mama, his brother, his sister, cousin, auntie, and just everybody. He was so low down that his son killed him. And when his son killed him, 10,000 people showed up at the funeral home to celebrate him being dead. They were so happy. Some people were pouring beer on him, sticking him with knives. But it was the happiest day in Jackson, Mississippi. And so I'm saying you got a whole lot of them kind of police, government officials, politicians. That's what they are. They're nothing but reds, and they don't give a damn about the Fannie Lou Hamers and the Ella Bakers and Miss Divines and all these young people that's in the jails and prisons and being in the Congo. In the last 5 years, 7 million people have died because they're being exploited by U.S. imperialism, and they trying to overthrow the government of Robert Mugabe in Zimbabwe. They do everything to undermine the great government of Castro in Cuba, where everybody gets free lights, gas, water, food, medicine, free education, free daycare, free nursery. The United States is trying to undermine the government, and they still have military blockade on Cuba, and they still committing crimes on all them different governments, South Central America, and they putting drone stations and preparing for war around the world. We have to say, hell no, we will not fight your wars, but we will go to the streets and make you lose them wars, help you lose them wars, because they just got beat in Afghanistan. They got beat in Iraq. That's why they're trying to run back over there. They're going to get beat in Syria, and they're getting beat in Palestine. They're going to get beat anywhere they raise their head, because the unjust imperialist powers cannot win a war. They can drop all them big bombs out the sky they want. But when they come down to earth, the people of color will be determined to bring them down, and that we will fight for Africa, and one day the land of the black man, Africa, will be liberated and free, and all the foreign powers, from the Zionists, from the imperialists, from all the foreign industry that's raping our diamonds, gold, oil, rubber, zinc, tea, copper, pearl, cobalt, manganese, all of them will be run out of Africa, and the truth going to come out of our greatness. Somebody said one day we're going to know about all the different African gods we had in Africa. One day we're going to know about Ghana and Mali and Songhai and Zimbabwe and the thousands of kingdoms and universities and Timbuktu that we had in Africa. We're going to know all about our history. But right now, the schools and all the institutions of imperialism and racism is trying to hide the truth from our people. That's why we need to get these freedom schools going, y'all, SNCC folks. Let's get these freedom schools going where we send everybody out into the community to talk to our children, put their arms around them, teach them our African dance, and teach them about our culture like you used to do. Gwen used to talk about Africa and black power and black nationalism everywhere. Anywhere you open your mouth, that's what you were talking about, black and proud and all that. And you influenced it. You made us look toward nationalism and Africanism. When you were coming out of Spelman College, girl, you was a young girl, but you sure was a nationalist.
Well, this is obviously something we have to do. I'm hoping that we are going to organize nationally. I think that the Cop Watch is a great idea. That should be something that could be done across the country. I think that we also need citizen review boards, and I mean citizen review boards that the people control, so that the police have to come before the citizens to answer to their killing, their beating,
Murder.
their terrorizing of people, and they should be fired. And when they do it, they should go on leave without pay, and they should be brought before the people. And the people should determine whether or not they are fit to be on the police force, and they also should be turned over for prosecution. So, you see, we have to have people run, and everybody in this talk, I know, agrees with this. We have to have people run organizations that are representative of the people, not the Reds like that sheriff, that low-down dirty sheriff who was listening to, appointed by, and at the beck and command of the white power structure that put him in place. Like you all said earlier, when we initially started with getting into electoral politics, it was movement people who were going to run for office and who were answerable to us. We have to look at what happened to the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party there in Mississippi. Why didn't it continue? What happened? Who sold it out? Looking at Lowndes County, where the first Black Panther Party, which was a real people's electoral party, was also undermined by people who sold it out. You know, this is the problem that we have to deal with, that we also have amongst us often people who will sell the movement out in order to advance their own personal careers or what have you. These people should not be people we put forward to run for office. So we have to organize. I mean, in the 80s, I spent 4 hard years trying to organize something called the National Black Independent Political Party, which was an effort to be a national formation that was not going to be like the Democrats or the Republicans, but a movement party that started from the grassroots up. I would like to see something like that get started again. If the Tea Party can make the Republicans do what they want them to do, why can't we, radicals and progressives, organize a group, a national group, that basically takes over the Democratic Party? I mean, we have to find ways of taking the system and making it work for ourselves, changing it where it needs to be changed, and making it work for us.
That's right.
So,
I wanted to know, how do we do that? Because we still suffering from classism, and it's really, really bad where people think they're better than other people. When this guy named, he got tased 3 times by the police while he was running away in Cleveland. And what I did was decided not to go to the middle class or whoever these non-caring, because they told me, oh, he had a record anyway. What that got to do with him being murdered? What we did was we organized what I still have the street committee. The street committee, it's a bunch of young black guys with records and whatever they do it, but they were out there and we marched on the police department. That was a show of force. And we've got to get these young black people that's been discounted and thrown away because they felons or whatever they are. We got to get them active, because if you talk to them, you'll find out they have really good ideas.
You're right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And what you're saying is definitely fighting a class struggle where the rich get rich and the poor get poor. We need to take, Martin King said that we need to take everything that the rich man have and give it to the poor. And he called for a redistribution of the wealth. And also, we need to unite with our brothers in Africa and begin to ask them and form relationship with our African brothers in Africa and begin to support Zimbabwe and other countries and begin to look for help outside this country, because this country is not capable and not willing and would never do us right and never do for us. In order for us to take over the Democratic Party, it's going to take revolution, or take over any party. It's going to take a revolution. It's going to take some well-organized people to do it, because we're dealing with the most violent, racist, imperialist country in the world. And Malcolm X said, if you want to know what they're doing in Mississippi or what they're doing in Florida, you look and see what they're doing in the Congo. You look and see what they're doing in Palestine. You look and see what they're doing in Iraq. You look and see what they're doing in Syria. You look and see what they're doing in Somalia. You look and see what they're doing in Ghana and other places in the world. And if you see in Haiti, where they first won independence and freedom, you look and see what they're doing in these places, and you'll understand the imperialist, racist power that they're doing here. And if they're willing to commit genocide on the people in Iraq and genocide on the people in the Congo, what in the hell they care about committing genocide on people in Ferguson or the people in the Delta, Mississippi, or Atlanta and anywhere else? Our people are suffering. The prison industrial complex is criminal. The military is criminal. The system of the rich get richer where the poor get poor is criminal. And they promote racism. They promote people against other people in order to hide their imperialist hands. And that we definitely need to say to the youth and to everybody, we got to get organized in all these churches and all these other nightclubs or gang, whatever. You've got to become relevant for the revolution. You got to become relevant for the people, and you've got to come now and join each other. We got to stop fighting among ourselves, stop hating our brothers, stop hating our women, and we got to love all the children and say every little boy and girl got to be guided by one of us or all of us, and ain't no such thing as that he ain't mine or she ain't mine. All of them are ours. And if we don't come together and protect and love and guide our children, then they will die in the streets like they're doing. We got to now get off ourselves and let's go to the streets and organize our people. And my SNCC people on the phone, we need you to help. I'm going to call on all y'all. Help me with these ideas. Let's carry SNCC to the people again. It was SNCC that was the fire. It was SNCC that was the organizers. It was SNCC that organized the voter registration. It was SNCC that organized the direct action. It was SNCC that went into Mississippi, the most dangerous areas, and died and was bombed and was shot. It was SNCC that organized the movement like the Albany movement. It was SNCC that was down in Selma that organized and confronted racism in Selma, who were bombed and beaten and what have you in Selma, in Albany, Georgia, in Lee County, Georgia, where they machine gun our houses, burnt down the churches that we were in, blew up Carolyn Daniels' houses, threw dynamite on our houses for trying to register a Democratic, to vote for a Democrat and all that kind of stuff. This country has committed crimes against us, and now they done killing off the black man, destroying the black family, putting our children in these jails and prisons. We are under more hell now than we were 50 years ago, and we got to get organized. We got to support going to the people. and all these so-called organizations out here, many of you are talking about the movement only to make yourself look good, only for your personal resume. But we need to forget self and be like we was in SNCC. SNCC was the most important one, and people worked according to their skills and what they wanted to do and what they could do and serve the people. And all of us weren't running in front of no microphone. We were going out at 6 in the morning, coming in 11, 12 o'clock at night, organizing the people. And this is what made us love each other. This is what made us respect each other as SNCC people. And this is what we need people to do now, and not just talk and what have you, but we need servants of the people. Our people are under attack. Our people are suffering. Our children are dying. Our people are dying. We're hungry now. We're drugged now. We're in the prisons now, more so than we was in 1961. So we need to be organized now. I think Dr. King was right. We definitely need revolution, and Dr. King called for a total redistribution of all the wealth. Take everything the rich men have, the rich people have, Gulf Oil, Standard Oil, all these big imperialist companies, take everything they got because they stole all of it. Work you for nothing for 500 years. Work you for nothing for $2 a day, $1 a day, and even less. And some they work for nothing. And that they done worked us and robbed us, and now they got billions and trillions. They steal your diamonds, your gold, your oil, your silver out of Africa and South America and everywhere else, and they get richer and richer and leave the people starving. And anybody that try to stop them, they drop bombs on them and kill them and assassinate them like they did Lumumba in the Congo. Coup d'etat Kwame Nkrumah's government. Drop bombs on Attn government in Chile. And you could name countries after countries that they continue to kill, and now they got a killer machine headed with Obama, and they're going throughout the world killing people that cry freedom. And now we must all cry freedom, fight for freedom, and let's bring down this evil, capitalistic, imperialist, Zionist, racist system that's attacking our people harder now than ever before. I speak from a SNCC perspective.
Well said. I just want to get the phone lines. The people are lighting up the phone lines, want to get into this conversation. I've been waiting patiently, so I'm sorry right now. Area code 678, you're on the air. Welcome to We All Be.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Peace.
How you doing? What's your name?
My name is Mukasa.
No, there's a brother on the phone that just answered. You all on We All Be got a question on coming for our panel?
Yes, sir. Peace to everybody that's online. I've been very studious, absorbing all of the information, and we represent Panthers for Justice. I am the national spokesperson. My name is Mansa Musa, named after the king of Timbuktu and Mali. So me being a young revolutionary at 29 to join the Black Panthers, I'm going to be able to represent the youth. And the youth is the most important key. The biggest issue is black unification to help our bad situation, like Brand Nubian said. But we have so many different ideologies, and we have so many different, how can I say, barriers that hinder us from being able to be like, okay, you're Islamic, you're Christian, but we're all black. We're all suffering. Let's get to the major standpoint and the major key point, which is black. And most of these leaders are cooning and buffooning. But I don't respect what Dr. Martin Luther King said, because there's no such thing as us switching roles. Because to switch a role for them to be poor, we don't need to even do that. We need to eliminate them, period. We need to get that Nat Turner type of mentality back, because as long as we keep putting things on ice, it's going to always be this condition that we're in. And we have to stop being arrogant. We have to stop being egotistical. Like you said, people get position of power and they get haughty and they get arrogant and conceited. And it's all about what role.
Brother man, get to your question. Get to your question, brother. Well, we can get to other people on the line too.
My question. I don't really have a question. I just wanted to say that I understand, I agree, and I am totally supportive. I've done my history on SNCC, but my comments is that I agree And I confirm everything that's being said. And the Black Panthers, we are revamping ourselves. We're doing what we need to do.
Well, good. Get organized and read plenty of books and get knowledge where you know what to do. And that we need to get organized. We need to educate the masses of our people. So be some well-organized, well-educated organizers, whether you're in the Panthers or any other organization. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we're gonna...
Yeah, and we also have to join hands with the Green Defenders and the Latino Americans, because we all in the same boat together. And we got to build a bridge so all of us minorities can join as one and fight the system.
And that's on a worldwide level. We have to join with the revolutionaries in every country in the world to fight imperialism, because imperialism is a worldwide entity, and in order to defeat it, we have to be a worldwide entity. All the people of the world that's fighting imperialism, you are brothers and sisters. Thank you.
Definitely.
Is there somebody else on the line?
Yeah, I'll get some more people on. But anybody have anything else like any other comments people want to address while on the phone lines? I'm getting the switchboard up now.
I just want to say this is what I've been wanting to say for a little bit, and that is that I go into classrooms again and I talk to people about SNCC mostly, and what I see the young people is they don't even understand that they can be empowered that way, the way we were in the 60s. And some of them do, but some of them don't. And that's why I think this history that Willie and all of us were part of is so important to teach, because that shows that it can be done. And there's so little role. People don't have that role modeling. They have role modeling of athletes now, but they don't have role modeling of people standing up for something that they really believe in. And I just think I agree with all the political things that have been said. We definitely need a revolution, all the things, but where do we start? And I think that one of the places to start, I know that I feel like some of my contribution can be sharing this history that we were part of, and using that as an example of what can happen. And that's why I keep coming back to that. And at the end of that, I see in the classroom or in the people that I'm talking with, they get an idea that they could actually do something like that. They don't have those ideas. A lot of them don't have that idea, and I'm not saying all of them, but there's this sort of feeling like everything's wrong, but I don't know what to do. I don't know where to be part of it. And to help give young people an idea of where to enter, where to come in, how to stand up, and that you can do this stuff. Because that was the example I feel that we set for the world, in a way, of that. It's not so much bravery, but passion. And believing in it, and reaching down and helping people come up and voice their concerns. And the same thing has to be done for people today, because in many ways I feel like they're even more brainwashed than we were back then. It's just like the consciousness is just so not with organizing and that you can make a difference. And I just think it's really that's my shtick on this, and I hope there is a revolution soon, but how to get from here to there is the question that I always ask. How do you start it? And I think that things like Ferguson, I'm excited by Ferguson, and I agree that there's a movement in Portland, good old white Portland, to about the cops, because the cops do the same thing here. We're being investigated by the Justice Department because of our racist cop killings. But how do you get started? How do you enter in?
Well, also I want to emphasize, and I want to emphasize behind that, is that we have to put emphasis on organization and teaching and educating, and not as much on military, running up against this system with military, because it's powerful. And the most important thing and the greatest weapon we have is organization and history. We got to teach our people their history, their culture, identity. And by doing that, everything else will come from that. But you can't be just running out here talking and bullied and like you mad at the police, but you ain't got no organization, you ain't doing no education, and we ain't bringing people up. We got to educate the people. And that's one thing SNCC did. We went to the people and we educated the people. And everywhere the SNCC traveled, in every town the SNCC went in, it organized a local organization. Your job when you went somewhere for SNCC, your job was to organize a local organization. When we went to Albany, Georgia, we organized the Albany movement. When we went to Dallas County, we organized the Dallas County movement. In every county we went in Mississippi or city, we organized the LaFleur County movement. And then in every where we were operating, we had hundreds of organizations, local organizations, and then when we put together a statewide organization and let it be led by local people, Aaron Henry and Miss Divine and all of those people, hundreds of them, this was a state organization that was led by them, and we served as their technical advisors and servants, and we served them. But Mississippi was a statewide organization, and we were organizers. And this is what we are saying to you today. We need organizers, not people to go out here and try to bully the police, because that's just impossible at this point. We need people that's ready to go sit down and organize, educate, and show love, brotherhood to our children, and begin to look at history and begin to show our people the way through history and make connections with other groups and people around the country, Zimbabwe, Cuba, and other places. We looked at China, we looked at Vietnam, we looked at everything around the world, and to come to where we are today. So all of us began to got to have a worldview, and that so history is our greatest weapon, and that's why we need to organize, and that's also one of the reasons we need them freedom schools, where we can begin to have those freedom schools, and freedom schools are nothing but get our people to talking and begin to see the history and the culture of our people and have a better understanding, period.
That would remind me of the history as our greatest weapon, because I know I talked to blues great Bobby Rush, who lives in Jackson, Mississippi. He talking about how he went to Tallahassee County to a high school just a couple years ago, and he was talking to the kids about Medgar Evers. And the high school kids didn't even know who Medgar Evers was. It was like, to me, the equivalent of high school kids in Georgia not knowing who Dr. King was. But they didn't know who Medgar Evers was, even though he had some roots in Tallahassee County. And that's really disturbing. Like Sister Margaret said about the Civil Rights Trail.
But then the people in Atlanta don't know who Martin Luther King is.
From your audience and see what their take is on this conversation.
You got an audience, we want to hear from them. If anybody on the phone, we want to hear from them. But many people don't know nothing about Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. They just know what white people tell them. And the white people just tell me nonviolent and went on a mountaintop, just some garbage.
Yes, sir. Welcome to the call. Okay, we got area code 302. Thank you for waiting patiently. Y'all on the air.
Yes, much love, much respect. We are ready. It's one thing. It's SNCC. The man who coined the phrase Black Power, Mukasa Willie Ricks. If he's on the line,
yes, sir. Hey, Africa.
Go to the Congo. We are ready. Much love, much respect.
Thank you, African.
Let me say this to all of us. We're on point, and we are right now where we're supposed to be because we are here. And I wasn't supposed to call. I never called. But for some reason, Mother Africa told her son, SUN, Mandela Khan, the connector, to call this program. Willie Mukasa Ricks has been used under the Pan-African Intelligence Network as a platform to show what Black Power really is. And we've done it for many, many weeks. And there's two comrades that this brother and myself, we are in solidarity with. The one brother named Moody Hines, which Brother Mukasa Ricks knows personally. And then there's Chairman Omali Yashitela. Now, let's go to the United States of Africa and the red, black, and green in the exigency. War is politics with bloodshed, and politics is war without bloodshed. What I want tonight is to let everyone know that we are ready to go all the way to victory, and everything is pointing for us fast and furious to get on our feet, out of our seat and into the streets with freedom and justice for us all, with the total recall of the United States of Africa with the red, black, and green. This is for black, brown, red, yellow, and white, from the Roman Catholic Church to the Storefront Baptist Church, everybody got to repent based on what we see going on at the moment, according to the planet Earth. Now, tonight at 9 o'clock, there's a blog talk where Payne, which is I'm the national and international director of the greatest intelligence network on the planet. And I've been through the FCC, and Brother Moody and Brother Mikasa and the chairman know me. And the fact is that in TRS called Talk Real Solutions coming out of South Carolina, they come on 7 nights a week and even to the wee hours of the morning. So outside of FCC or Black Talk Radio or whatever, BTR or whatever, TRS comes on every night. And the host, Tyrone Thompson, and most of his men are all veterans of the United States government, and they hold up to this day. But what I told them is about Willie Mukasa Ricks, who coined the phrase of SNCC, Black Power. And everything evolved from that. And then we had the precursor, which came under the auspices of the Black Panther Party. But the fact of the matter is that I need everyone tonight to write this number down at 9 o'clock or any night. And Brother Mukasa, I need your personal information because I want whoever's hosting tonight, I'm going to do a special SOS and circumvent the whole program and say, we got some new information that'll bring us all together.
What's the number,
they done heard everything to the...
What's the number you want us to write down?
848.
848.
858.
Wait a minute. 858. 357. 357?
Yes.
848-357?
8453. Yes.
Wait a minute. Okay, wait just a minute.
53. And I'll say it again.
858.
357 8453. That's Talk Real Solutions today night. But tonight, I need everybody, but especially you, Mikasa, because I want the host or whether I do an interview based on what y'all discussing tonight and push it fast forward because they'll be on till the wee hours of the morning. But the key is that we have everything we need, but we got to bring it to the center. And what would be the rally point for African people from the Congo to the Bongo? It would be that red, black, and green. Across organizations. All organizations are wrong, even the UNIA. So we got everything we need, but we need these people tonight to call that number tonight and continue to do so because the Pan-African Intelligence Network, we control the FCC and everything from the Roman Catholic Church to any storefront Baptist.
All right, let me cut you short, though. I got to go break. But you said 9 p.m. Eastern? 9 p.m. Eastern?
9 p.m. East Coast time.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay. One other thing, little brother. One other thing. Tell Mr. Hines, who I haven't seen in 40 years, tell him to call me. Marty Hines, I need to see him. I need to hear his voice. Tell Marty Hines to call Mukasa. And I'll give a cell number. I don't mind giving a cell number out. 678-777-4361.
Say it again.
Marty Hines. 678-777-4361.
777-4361.
Yes. So thank you very much, and we're going to move to the next caller.
All right. You got one more caller. This to be the last caller for the show. Y'all on the air. What can we all be? Paul, you on the air?
I am. Can you?
How you doing? What's your name?
I am Angela Del Philly, a.k.a. I am Angel Lady Love, BB, at 2. Well, I was about to give you my number. I want to salute all of you. However, I was a little girl then during the civil rights, but I saw what had happened. We didn't strategize what we were going to do after we got people to pay attention to our rights. And that is, I saw where the Caucasoids had started going into our neighborhoods. We already had gangs who kept people out of certain areas. I'm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We're the 5th largest city in the nation now. We were the 4th largest city in the nation then. And they strategized with the gangs, started giving them drugs, as well as the fact to sell, as well as the mom and pop stores. They started infiltrating them with the police officers because they knew in the back rooms they were selling, having different other paraphernalia, but more emphatically selling the numbers and other things like that. So they closed down the mom and pop stores. They were going into our schools, and by the 60s they had stopped the AB classes whereby if a person couldn't complete that year, they had to start all over again. I don't know if you're following me. The way it used to be strategized, just like colleges are still. 101, if I didn't complete 101 in September to December, I could take 101 in January to May. But the way it works now, have to wait all the way till September again. So many children dropped out of school. Their parents started getting into drugs. We didn't strategize what we were going to do, but more emphatically, we allowed them to make an act. An act does not receive the consent of the governed. The fact is they should have gone onto the voting machine. And this is what they're doing against us now. That's why 50 years later, they can come back and try to change it. Same thing for President Obama's acts he's putting forth, which are all against us. The Immigration Reform Act, all of that. All of this Ebola in Africa, that's to keep us from wanting to go there. We already had to get all kinds of inoculations, not realizing that anyone that's inoculated has the disease already. I want to give you my Angel Lady Love papers where you can get it on an email. And the email would be Derrick, Derrick, C as the initial, C as in Charles, Robinson with one B, ROBINSON @gmail.com. That's Derrick C. Robinson @gmail.com. He is the director of the FFCHS. We are being surveilled. People like myself and you were probably being surveilled because you were so noticed and were out there. No one's paying attention how the Honorable Dr. Martin Luther King's mother was assassinated. No one talks about that.
Right.
And I really think that his daughter was most recently. But can you get those papers? My phone number, pardon me?
Oh, go ahead. You're going to give a number?
They're going to give you a number.
My number is 215-769-8233. The phone will record as soon as it stops ringing 1 to 7 times. It doesn't have an outgoing verbal prompt. But just leave your name and number, and I'll call you back. But I hope you get these Angel Lady Love papers, because Part 1 talks about 911. It has some of the newspaper clippings from that time frame, which was all staged, orchestrated, activated, presented. They're shutting off our electricity every time we turn around. In 2012, 2 days before July 4th, which is our biggest holiday, and our real rules that they used from us, the key here is they had shut off over 250 million people's electricity in 2012, and their electricity was off over 2 weeks. In Philadelphia this year, July 5th, the day after July 4th, over 250,000 people's electricity was shut off, and upwards to 2 weeks. We're not paying attention. They're using the utility companies against us. This is cruel and unusual punishment. These are necessities. These are our lifelines, our telephones, and all of that. So if you get the Angel Lady Love Papers Part 2, has our laws. We also have, aside from the Declaration of Independence, which says they're supposed to get our consent, it goes on to have the Declaration of Human Rights and the Declaration of Child Rights from the United Nations. These people are violating all kinds of international law.
Well, thank you, Sister Williams.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
We're going to look at your papers, and we can't do it all now, but thank you very much, and thank you, and good night.
Yeah, I want to thank y'all. I'm sorry, man, it ran a little bit over. I know people were excited and have so much information to share. I want to thank you all for participating in today's show. I really appreciate it.
Before we hang up.
I want to get you. Yeah, go ahead.
The Young Black Panther. I would like for the Young Black Panther to get this book called Up Against the Wall by Curtis Alston. He wrote extensively about the Black Panthers, and then get this book called We Will Shoot Back by what's his name?
A.K. Yeah.
No, by Akinyele Umoja.
Yeah.
From Georgia
also,
State.
Okay, and also
reading books.
Yeah, we definitely. Plus, we need to listen to people like Margaret and the people and the other sneak people on the phone, because can't nobody tell it like them, because they lived it and have experienced it, and they speak from experience, not just from a professor standpoint, but y'all tell it from the heart, and you tell it because you lived it and you know it. And also, again, I would like to remind you that if any of you know anybody that wants scholarships to medical school, you can go to a website called IFCO, IFCOnews.org, and there's a full scholarship for the young people. We could get them off these streets and send them to Cuba, and they'll send them back to us doctors. And that's what we need to concentrate on. And secondly, I have a son that's in medical school, and I set up, and we're trying to raise money where we can pay for the medical board that he got to take here next week. And I'm asking everybody that can hear my voice, send him for his medical test money. Would you please send a donation? And the donation and the place where you send it is www.gofundme.com/BMRQXG. GoFundMe.com/BMRGX. BMRQXG. BMRQXG. So I want to thank you.
Brother Tommy, thank you. And,
thank you. Thank y'all, slick people.
And I'd like to say that if anybody wants to hear a little bit more about my story, I have a website at www.inrarifiedair.com, and I'd be happy to talk with you. And thank you so much for having me on the panel. It's been great. And
thank you for so much being in this Mukai. Thank you, Gwen. Thank both of you. And I would like for Gwen, both of y'all to call me, and I would just like to say hello to y'all personally. Would that be good?
Yeah, that sounds good.
I'll call you, McCausland, because I got to ask you something.
Okay, yeah, call me, sister. You know you always call in.
You too, Gwen.
Dr. Gwen.
What's your phone number again?
Whose number?
I don't want to say it over the air.
She gonna put it on the air.
So he can fix it. We're not putting our phone number.
We just call the radio.
I think.
Y'all call. Y'all call me, but Dr. Gwen, I want to get your closing thoughts before we go.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you very much for hosting this important conversation. As I said earlier, I am hoping that some of us who have been in the long civil rights, human rights struggle will either by some kind of conference call, since it's probably not going to be possible for us to physically get together again anytime soon, to really think about strategies that we can share with people who are organizing around the country in our effort to galvanize a movement, a national movement for change, progressive change in this country. We have many people doing many different things. Hopefully we can come together under a big tent to organize for real change at a national level. And thank you so much for having me on the program.
I want to thank you all for taking time out your busy schedules to be here today to share your wealth of information and knowledge with the people. In the words of the great Duke Ellington, we love you all madly. Keep producing and pushing, and we'll be in touch because the best is yet to come.
Africans, all y'all Africans. Thank you so much.
Thanks again.
Long live the revolution.
I will text all of y'all with all the information.
Hey, please support our Cuban project.
Thank you.